All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending today's educational webinar. Today's topic is on the end of life for Windows XP and Office 2003. We'll go through many different details regarding XP mainly, and we'll touch on Office as well as the upcoming end of life for Server 2003. One note here, everybody will be muted during the webinar, so just to reduce background noise, we'll have everybody muted, but you can type in questions as we proceed forward, and we'll answer those at the end of the webinar. As far as the presenter goes, it's going to be myself, Dustin Brown, and Natalie Nelson, who's also here. And typically we would have our IT vendor do a webinar like this, but Beanstalk Computing has been actually so busy and inundated with the request of transferring offices in medical communities as well as outside from XP to new versions of Windows. So we've kind of joined the content together and we'll be producing it on their behalf. So if there's any questions we can't answer for you during the webinar, we'll go ahead and forward them on to Beanstalk Computing, who is a member, of course, of the Physician Resource Center. So moving forward, the overview will include, of course, the XP review, Office 2003 small review, talking about firewall and antivirus methods, some other resources, summary on the entire presentation, some next steps, and then we'll get to the Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started. So the reality is, operating systems and computers are just like everything else we use every day. After some time, they do break down and they do work differently. They become outdated and they need to be replaced. So, Windows XP has been around for quite some time, and the reality is it's just got an end of life. So it's not too crazy and out of touch for anything else that we use every day. So, we're going to go into the actual reasons why Windows XP is such a concern, outside of just the end of life that Microsoft has said they won't support it anymore. There are countless viruses aimed directly at XP. It requires even more concern for the security of the software to be up to date. And there's also much limited antivirus support out there. So as far as support that you'd see for newer versions of Windows where the antivirus is now built in with things like Windows Defender, XP requires lots of extraneous antivirus support. So it's very important to just look at how vulnerable the system is to viruses that are aimed directly at it. Next question, our next point here, it's really old, 12 years old in fact. A standard practice really is to upgrade an operating system on a computer within 2 to 3 years of the newest version. The newest version right now for Windows is Windows 8. So Windows 7 would be an ideal upgrade point for anybody moving from XP. Of course, you could go directly to Windows 8, but this just kind of shows the difference in time span between XP and what's going on today. It, of course, reduces risks and avoids headaches to stay up to date. So I'm not going to send a poll question out here real quick to everybody. And it basically is your office still using Windows XP? So that's been sent out for people to go ahead and chime in on. Please let us know what you're currently using. The options there are yes, no, and I don't know. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move forward here. The next slide we have, it's really by far the least secure operating system. So when you compare it to Windows 7, Windows 8, or even Vista, which was on the map for a little bit, it has a lot of different holes or gaps in it for it to be compromised. So any upgrade that you do from XP is going to be a significant one as far as securing your practice. Okay, so moving on here, the world's changed a lot since Windows XP. The XP was designed to fit on a 640 pixel screen. Today, we commonly use a screen display that's at least twice that size. Some maybe even use a display that's much bigger than that. But The resolution that you see for Windows XP is pretty granulated and pixelated. So the interface of the software looks as old as it is because it really was not made for the screens we use. Software has dramatically changed and become more advanced, thus XP can't support most of the innovation that we have available today. There's a lot of programs you may use just for running your medical practice, but there's a lot of other programs out there that could even simplify workflow or add other business benefits to your company. So again, the software can't support some of the innovation that's out there right now. Windows XP has been kind of a hack, fix, and temporary patch repeated over and over and over again. It's interesting, once the security hole is noticed, of course, Microsoft would come along and make a patch for it, but that just happened regularly. So it came to a point where obviously Microsoft looked at this and said, we can't improve it, we can't enhance it. We've got other products available that offer much more benefit to our end user. So they've ended the cycle of hack, fix, and patch over and over. Support. What's support? I think this is kind of funny, but mainstream support actually ended over 4 years ago for Windows XP. Of course, they continue to bring out the patches and the solutions to keep the product alive, but actually calling them up and saying, hey, how do I do this? Or hey, how can I get this accomplished? That ended 4 years ago. So local IT vendors obviously stepped in, and they could provide a solution there for any questions that their clients had. But there's nothing here now. So I put here zero, zilch, nada. There's no support that is available. And as far as IT vendors go, they're definitely going to recommend that you bump up to something that can be supported in a long-term scalable way. I'm going to bring in Natalie here, but I'm also just going to cover this real quickly. Simply stated, there's no more updates or security patches that will be delivered for XP. There's new holes that are found or created every day by hackers. Since it's so vulnerable to begin with, it's the easiest one to pick on, for lack of a better way of putting it. And just having antivirus software is not enough to be 100% protected.
And I just wanted to add that, as you know, part of the HIPAA requirements are that you do protect all your data, your critical data. So not having antivirus software just makes you vulnerable to attacks from the outside. And nowadays with penalties and significant penalties being attached to
emails,
HIPAA violations, you don't want to find yourself there because it can be very, very costly. The other thing that I might add about using Windows XP is that you'll find that you can't communicate with a lot of your fellow physician offices and colleagues out there. So it's important to upgrade so that you can continue to communicate with your associates.
Mm-hmm. So the next slide up here is malware. It's everywhere, and malware might be kind of a blanket term that's not recognizable by lots of people, or it might be, but malware basically is malicious software that's inserted when connecting to the internet. So from the outside world in, and that's the gaping hole that XP really shows its vulnerability. It's open to various forms of malware. There's also spyware to be aware of, which is software that tracks your usage on the computer. So again, being aware of what's occurring and how it's occurring, I think is very important. We'll talk just briefly about Office 2003. Support has ended here as well. So if you're running Office 2003 on a Windows 7 or Windows Vista machine, you are at risk and vulnerable simply because support and security patches for that software has ended. There should be an update here to Office 11 or 2013 along with your operating system. So if you, after this webinar decide that you're gonna upgrade to a different Windows operating system, definitely recommend doing a cohesive action of upgrading your Office suite as well. This is something that we came across yesterday in preparing some of the notes for the webinar, but I came across this and I wanted to mention it. I think it's very important. End of life for Server 2003 will be July of next year. This is crucial because a lot of offices could be running Server 2003 for their internal network and maybe not be aware of it. So the server essentially is your file hub. It saves the settings on the computers. It obviously stores your files and backs them up, and could do a range of other things for your business, but it will become unsupported and thus non-HIPAA compliant next year. Planning ahead for this will be key. Consider starting, of course, with your computer operating systems and office suites, and then upgrading your server should it be a Server 2003. Oops, move forward here. So antivirus, sometimes it's mentioned we have really good antivirus software, so we should be okay. Again, there's still the underlying issue here that as soon as these platforms lose support from their manufacturer, in this case, XP's lost support from Microsoft, they bring the subsequent business or medical practice, in this case, into non-compliance. So basically, even if you were to have the top of the line antivirus software on your computers, there's still the underlying risk that's associated. Firewall. So firewall is something that you may have separating out your internet from your waiting room area, or you may have several different firewalls for your internal connection between your server and your computers, or from your server to your outside internet. But just really to dumb it down, a firewall is kind of your protection line. And so sometimes it could be mentioned, it's okay, we have a firewall in place. That doesn't mean you're secured. It definitely doesn't get you around the HIPAA security rules. It's stated here in this section 164.308A, procedures for guarding against detecting and reporting malicious software. So even if you're guarding against, you also have to be able to detect and report that an encounter has actually happened. And Natalie has some more information here.
Right. With HIPAA, with the new HIPAA requirements, part of the obligation of the offices is that you document all these means by which you protect your data. So you really need to focus on creating a good document, and part of that document needs to show that you have procedures for guarding against, detecting, and then reporting any attacks through your software to the HIPAA data, the patient data. So keep in mind that having a firewall, having antivirus software isn't a complete solution. You do need to document everything that you're doing in addition to having these items in place in your system. So
thank you, Natalie. Yeah, there's different ways to protect the integrity of your network, and using all these methods are, of course, highly recommended. It's just at the base layer that XP is just still so vulnerable outside of these other safety measures. There's some other benefits that you'll get from upgrading, though. You'll get a more intuitive operating system than XP. You'll get better security and support, as we're already discussing. Future compatibility with other softwares will be a big positive. You'll have better resolution and a graphical user interface. And thus, you may also have increased productivity just from the system being more easy to use. One of the notes that's always mentioned, and it's an important variable, will my computer be able to run a new version of Windows? So this slide deck will be sent out to everybody after, I think you'll get it tomorrow morning. And there's a little link here to check your machine and look at your machine hardware stats, and you can see if you have enough RAM, which is your memory. Basically, it's random access memory, your processor speed, and stuff like that, where you can check and make sure that you'll be able to run a new version, say Windows 7 or Windows 8. We've also provided some helpful links here. It covers the XP to 7 overview, some FAQ for that topic, going from XP to Windows 8 overview, and also FAQ on that topic. So definitely recommend diving into these. It'll help answer some other questions that you may have after today's webinar. So another note here that's also important, typically a lot of users that are still using XP may be running Internet Explorer 8 and found this Microsoft Security Advisory. There is vulnerability in Internet Explorer 8 that could allow remote code execution. This was published May 8th of last year. So that being said, the first initial step you can do to start securing your business and the security of the files that you have is to upgrade your browser to either Internet Explorer 11, which is a very secure browser, or also Google Chrome, which is also quite secure. So there's some links here that you can use to upgrade your browser. So there's a summary here. So what does this all mean? And I found this as well to put in here. I think this kind of hits the nail on the head, but time's up on April 8th, which obviously that day is come and gone. Microsoft is ending security updates and patches for Windows XP and Office 2003. Just having a Windows XP computer on your network will be an automatic HIPAA violation, which makes you non-compliant with meaningful use, which obviously is a very important topic, and will be a time bomb that could easily cause a reportable and expensive breach of protected patient information. HIPAA fines and loss of MU money can far outweigh the expense of replacing your old computer. So this was from Mike Smell from High Tech Answers. There's a whole article on there. I'll actually go ahead and post the full article link in there so that you can read more up on this. I think it was very interesting. I have another poll question I'd like to send out to everybody, and it's are you currently concerned with the security of your office IT? So that's coming out to everybody right now. If this was a little bit too, I should say, black and white on the details, but at the same token, I think it really shows exactly what the issues are that need to be addressed. So I'll go ahead and close this poll and continue moving forward. So some next steps. So starting your plan, hiring an IT company to assist you can drastically simplify the migration process, reduce the associated stress, and eliminate potential miscues. Of course, we work with Beanstalk Computing, and we're happy to make contact for anybody that'd like to communicate with them. Make sure your data is backed up. If you do decide to do anything on your own, make sure your data is backed up before you make any changes. This is key because when you upgrade from XP to Windows 7 or Windows 8, you do have to do what's called a custom or clean install. And what that means is you're basically doing a complete fresh installation of an OS on your computer. So the operating system that you have before will be completely gone, and having your data backed up will be crucial. You can also want to check for the software compatibility that you're using right now on XP with a new version of Windows 7 or Windows 8. That may help you determine which version you want to go to. And then there's also Office 365, which will help you stay up to date with the applications that Microsoft offers, which is, of course, is Outlook, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, etc. Using Office 365 is a subscription. They have a BAA that they will sign with their end user, that being you, the client, the medical office, and they do offer HIPAA compliant solutions. So definitely worth looking into and worth talking with an IT vendor about. They also offer encrypted messaging through the Outlook email, which of course is very important with HIPAA compliance. So again, another item that you should definitely worth considering. So if you have any questions, please type them in and we'll field them and answer them to the best of our ability. If there's anything we can't answer for you, we'll pass it on to Beanstalk to respond back. And I'm going to show a slide real quick here about Beanstalk Computing. Their main contact is Jason Brooks. Here's the contact information for them. And they also offer our members an exclusive rate as well as a 1-hour free consultation. So there's some easy entry to get some questions answered. Okay, let's see if we have any questions in here. No, there's no questions. If you have any, please type them in. Happy to do our best to answer them. Natalie, do you have anything else you'd like to add in here?
I was just going to add that we use Beanstalk Computing for our office, and they've made a huge difference. They're very responsive and have helped us not only achieve HIPAA compliance, but have made our systems easier to use. So they are really terrific. Jason speaks English, not tech, all the time,
He does, it's true.
which helps a lot when you're trying to communicate and get what you need out of a computer. So for some of us, that ability to understand what the computer, to make the computer work for you instead of working for the computer, is really key. So Jason and Beanstalk Computing have really done a good job for our office here. So I can't think of a better recommendation than the fact that we use their services ourselves.
Yeah, we do, and they've been very, very helpful. There was a question mentioned here. It says 1 hour free, but 2 hour minimum. I'm looking through the document, and I don't see that that's listed on there for a 2 hour minimum, but I can certainly double check on that. I believe this was available for a no obligation consult, so I can. Oh, there's another note coming through. He mentioned that. Okay. That's news to us as far as this coupon that was offered to us to pass on to our members. I'll go ahead and circle back with Jason on that and get clarification and send a note out to everybody that's attended today's webinar. Okay, well, if there's no further notes or questions here, I'd like to thank everybody for joining on today. If any questions pop up after the webinar, you can send them directly to us if you'd like to, and we'll pass them on, or you can contact Jason directly. The email address is listed here. And again, these slides will be made available tomorrow for download. So at that point, we'll go ahead and say thank you very much and have a wonderful day.